Hey, welcome to this edition of Man Cave Technology. I'm reviewing the new 2018 iPad Pro, which has been out for a little while now, and I have had a chance to really put it through its paces so that I can give you a great review. Okay, so there's a lot of information about the iPad Pro out there, so if you're someone who is going to say, well, this isn't really a review because blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's not really a review, it's just my review. It's the way I look at the world. And so I want to tell you what I think about this iPad. I really, really like it. And I think that if you haven't upgraded your iPad in a while, or you're looking to get into the game, now is a great time, because I have a feeling that this design will stick around for just a bit. So the iPad that I have here is the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. And I actually have one of the older versions of this iPad, and the differences are really interesting. All right, so let's do a little comparison between the old iPad and the new one. So I actually have the 12.9 here, and I'm gonna show you compared to last year's model. What's really cool is I've laid these on top of each other, and they were able to get the same amount of screen without all of this bezel. And so this leaves the new iPad just feeling really sleek. And the old iPad is still nice, but it's definitely got a lot more of a bezel around the edges. First off, I actually love what they've done with the case for this iPad. I think it's called like the keyboard folio. And the old one kind of doubled over itself. And what's really cool about this one is it's just a pretty sleek design. So basically it covers the back, and it is just held on with magnets. So basically there it is. You just kind of slap it on there, and then the front just covers it. And so basically the edges are exposed, which I know some people won't like, but it just takes up way less room. Then you have the ability to put it kind of at two different angles. And so I really like this. I think that this was a good move on Apple's part, and I think that they really kind of made the case something that's nice and easy to use. Okay, so first off, the iPad is more powerful. Can you tell? Well, maybe if you have the latest old iPad, you can't tell that much, but someone like me who's definitely always messing with things, I always love the extra speed, and it does have a little extra speed. The processor in this thing is pretty amazing. Lots of information about it online, so look at that. But all you need to know is it is faster, and even if you don't need all that speed today, what's nice is it'll last longer. Well, in theory at least, it will last longer because as you get into the future, things become more and more demanding, but you've got the power right here to handle it. So first off, it's just like any other iPad you use in terms of what's on it, but we do have a improvement, and that is the Apple Pencil 2. So the Apple Pencil 2 is just a little different. It has a flat edge and it has a matte finish, and I really prefer this finish compared to the glossy finish of the Apple Pencil 1. They also got rid of the silly cap that you lose, and they came up with a much better way to charge it. So on the old Apple Pencil, you actually have to stick it in this port, and it just literally sticks out. That's pretty crazy. That's really bad design. Like, I don't know why Apple thought that would be okay, but that's what they did. So the new Apple Pencil actually charges itself with inductive charging once it's snapped on. Now, I'm really not a fan of magnetically snapping on a stylus unless it's really gonna stay. And I thought that this one was not, because I can kind of mess around with it and get it to fall off. But in reality, I put this in my bag many times and it hasn't fallen off, and I've carried it around quite a bit. I probably wouldn't like trust it in some grungy subway-y kind of place where if it falls, it's gonna need to literally be soaked in some kind of hand sanitizer. But I think it's gonna stay pretty solidly put. Now, like I mentioned before, you have an improved case and keyboard, but it really feels just about the same. So the Apple Pencil is just more responsive on the new iPad. Basically, it does everything that it's always done, except that it's more responsive. More responsive. And I'm really bad at like drawing things and doing things. So, I mean, this is like probably just the worst illustration of a great, you know, whatever. But there it is. That's my best. We'll do some curly hair there. So there you go. There's my great iPad drawing. But there's lots of apps, there's lots of different things that you can use the pencil for. And so I have found that I use the pencil a lot more on this generation than I did the old one. And I think it's simply because it's just there. It's handy, and I can grab it and I can use it when I want to use it. Now, the design of this, once again, really harkens back to the earlier iPhones. I thought I wasn't going to like it, but I actually really do. I think it's easy to hold on to without the kind of curved edged bezels, whatever you want to call them, that's on the previous one. Part of me, though, thinks that that maybe just feels sleeker, but this is probably more practical, easier to use, easier to hold on to, that kind of thing. So here's some things that are improved and that are really nice. So number one, this screen is incredible. It's very bright. It's very clear. It's just all around good. And what they've done here is they've done fancy stuff to have this kind of curved edge. I really don't care about having a curved edge. That's kind of what Apple does. They do things that we didn't really need, but they do them because they look cool. And so it looks cool. I don't know that it was worth all the effort when they say we have a liquid retina display, blah, blah, blah. But I really do think that it's a good design. It reminded me a little bit about Antenna Gate, but just because it's going back to this kind of design and you can actually see the breaks for the antennas in here. But basically what you have is you have 4 speaker grills. So 2 on one side along with the USB-C. Yes, I know that's the other major change. USB-C, here's your other 2 speaker grills and your power button and some microphones. But back to that USB-C for just a minute. Now, some people don't like it and some people do. And I'll kind of tell you what I think. I'm actually really pleased with the USB-C change. And I really wish that they would have done this on the latest iPhone. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe it's too thin for the USB-C. I don't know. But the reason USB-C is nice is it's a standard. So it doesn't mean you have to go buy a weird cable. It means that if you're at a friend's house, you can probably charge it. If they have a Nintendo Switch, then oh yeah, that runs a USB-C. If they have pretty much any of the latest kind of gadgets and things, they're all using the USB-C Thunderbolt 3.0, that different kind of connection. And so I really love just having that on here. The iPad has been criticized for not having a USB port, and so now it actually has a real USB port. They do make thumb drives that go in USB-C. And so I think that that was a great move on Apple's part. Yes, it's kind of annoying that if you already have a bunch of lightning cables, but I think that that was a good move. I just hope that they'll stick with it for a long time. You know, the camera on here just kind of is what it is. I mean, I guess this looks decent, but you know, look at this. Oh, whoa, that's like huge. Look at that up there. It does a really bad job with that. But I don't really think that the cameras on the iPad are something that get used a whole lot. The front facing maybe for doing FaceTime and things like that, but in reality, I don't go around taking pictures with it, but I think it is a good camera. I do believe I could need to be corrected, but I think that the optical stabilization is gone on this camera, and that was actually a step backwards, but somebody can fact check me on that and let me know if that is true or not. The other big change with the new iPad Pro is they got rid of the home button, and that's partly what let them get so thin out here to the edges of this device, and that's kind of what Apple is doing, and they replaced it with Face ID. Now, my thoughts about Face ID are that it was really, to me, the thumbprint was actually easier because you didn't have to look at it or even be near it. You could just, like, under the table unlock your iPhone or device if you wanted. So I think Face ID is more so that they could get rid of the home button. And then they're also just taking advantage of, since they have those sensors in there, doing stuff like the animated emojis and all that stuff. If you get excited about that, great. I don't really care, but it's there. But yeah, so Face ID. So basically, just like anything else that uses Face ID, if the tablet, see, I almost called it a computer because it kind of, you know, that's the big debate. Is it a computer? Yes. Is it a tablet? Yes. We'll answer the question in a minute if this could be your laptop. But basically, you see it, and if you look at it and swipe up, well, there you go. It's pretty seamless. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover it, pretend that I'm holding it, and then I'm going to try to swipe up, and it actually says camera covered, and makes a little arrow to go over there. So now I'm going to look at Face ID, and it actually unlocked. So if you are covering the camera, it's going to say, hey, uncover the camera. And it actually works either sideways or if it's up in the correct orientation. And so that's what's really cool. It kind of works, but you do have to look at it. So it kind of points to the camera. You have to go over and look at wherever the camera is at. All right, so now the question that a lot of people ask, and you know, is a big debate, is this a computer? Well, yeah, this is a computer. I think that, you know, I don't know, maybe it's like millennials don't understand or something, no offense to millennials, but yes, these are computers, okay? So when I was a kid, a calculator was like the only computer that could go in your pocket or easily fit in your backpack. Now, these things are more powerful than all of those actual big desktop beige computers that used to sit in the school library and in the computer lab and all of that, and it's mega powerful. And I actually think the future of Apple is going to be using the ARM processor and basically turning this into a laptop. So right now, kind of what's holding it back is iOS. iOS is touch first, and that's great. Look at what Microsoft did with trying to kind of be the hybrid, which works pretty good, but in terms of just the 100% tablet experience, I think that Apple did a better 100% tablet experience. And so what they kind of have slowly done is they've just added more features that you would need to use this as a computer. Things have gotten better. You know, we have iCloud Drive. We now have a physical keyboard that you can buy if you want that. So we now have the ability to put apps side by side and do different things like that, which actually works pretty good. But you can't move things around on here like you can on a computer. And so a desktop or laptop computer. And so that can be a little challenging. There's also things like YouTube. You should be able to support picture-in-picture, but they don't. And I think that's because of kind of Android, Apple stuff, and they just don't want to support it. But if you watch YouTube like on Safari, then you can actually take the video, break it out, and then watch it kind of move it around on the screen while you're working on other things. But the truth is, this is not a laptop computer. If you like to surf the web, if you like to write documents, I think Pages on here is good. I think Numbers on here is good. I think the calendar is great. Photo editing is great. You saw that where they showed the Photoshop that's going to completely run on the iPad. I think so much cool stuff is coming here, and the fact that you can touch it and use the stylus and use the keyboard kind of gives it an edge. But right now, if you are a hardcore PC, hardcore Mac, hardcore, like I want a bunch of windows open and I'm exporting video while I'm also doing this and I'm rendering 3D files and I'm running Lightroom and doing, then yeah, this is probably not going to replace your laptop. But I think for a lot of people who just kind of need to do standard normal things, this could work great. All right, so one of the things that Apple's doing a lot of these days is augmented reality. And I think it's pretty nice. It's been working on a lot of devices, but now really what you get is you get a better experience on the new iPad because its processor can really handle what you need to do and do it pretty fast. So it's like this book is on my desk here's the book, here's my phone, and there it is. And so I can kind of go through here and read it, and as I do, wow, look at that. You can actually move around and really get a good view of what it is that you know, you're reading about. And so if you haven't messed with augmented reality yet, it is pretty cool. Some people could say that it's gimmicky, but especially on a fast processor like this new iPad, I think that it just feels so fluid that there's really cool things that you can experience and you can do. All right, so here's another AR app that I'm going to show you, because it's like there's a skull on my table. And so I'm going to actually get up and walk around. And once again, what's cool is the power of the iPad Pro, the latest one, really makes this a seamless experience. So as I'm moving around and as I'm kind of, you know, looking at all of this, it's pretty cool how fluid it feels. And so, you know, this is pretty cool stuff. We're checking out this brain. And one of the things that's really great about this technology is, imagine trying to learn about the brain in order to be a surgeon or do medical work. And you go from having to look at it in a book to being able to look at things like this. And so I really think that this technology is amazing and is actually going to just help us in life be able to move forward as a society and learn things and do things. And I think it's pretty cool. So now we're looking at the neurons. So that's just pretty trippy. There are neurons on top of my phone. So all in all, I really recommend the iPad Pro. If you maybe bought one just recently, this is not a, oh, I gotta go out and upgrade because there's some amazing new features. But if you have an older iPad or you haven't jumped into the game yet, or maybe you're wanting to switch or do something, this is a great time because this is a new form factor. I think Apple's done a really great job with it, and I think it's really good. So you may have some questions. Feel free to leave them in the comments. I know this review was not like an all-inclusive covering everything review, but this was just kind of my thoughts, my word about the new iPad, and let me know what you think. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe so that you see videos in the future, that would really help me out a lot. Hey, thanks.